I told my stepson to move out of his room because my real child needed it. He said I couldn't replace him, so I tossed his belongings, locked him out, and said it was my house. Now, my husband is gone, my daughter is furious, and I finally see how horribly I treated him. I have a daughter, Kathy. She's my whole world. Before her, I had a miscarriage that nearly destroyed me, and for a long time doctors told me I probably wouldn't carry another pregnancy. So when Kathy was born healthy, I became a very protective mom. I know I can be intense, but it came from somewhere real, not me trying to control everything like people like to assume. I married my husband Roman 3 years ago. He has a son, Logan, who's 17 now. The first time I met Logan, he barely said a word to me. I thought he was shy. Turns out he just didn't want anything to do with me. He lived with his mom back then, and from what I gathered, she had her own issues, addictions, instability, all of that. I didn't push for details because it wasn't my business, but when Logan was about 15, he suddenly started living with us full-time. No warning, just showed up with bags and stayed. I'll be honest, it threw me off. I went from raising my little girl to suddenly having a teenage boy in the house who looked at me like I stole his life. Roman told me Logan needed space and someone calm, which felt unfair because I never created problems until Logan acted like I was the problem just by existing. Now let me explain the room situation because this is the actual reason the whole thing blew up. Logan has the biggest room in the house, the only one on the top floor. It used to be just an attic, but his parents renovated it for him years ago. It's basically the nicest room here. Huge space, new floors, nice light, bigger closet than mine. It always bothered me a bit because he wasn't even with us full-time at first. And here my daughter is cramped in a small room with barely enough storage for her things. But since he was older, I didn't make it a big issue. Then recently I found out I was pregnant again. Completely unexpected. And honestly, it freaked me out. The house barely fits us as is, and now we needed space for a nursery too. Meanwhile, Kathy has been asking to leave her dad's place and stay with me permanently. She never liked the house over there, and her father always treated her like an inconvenience. So now her things were piling up everywhere in our home, and it was becoming obvious that her room just wasn't big enough. I brought up the idea that maybe it made more sense for Kathy to have the attic room. It's bigger, it's safer for a younger child than for a teenager who wants privacy, and Logan could move into her current room downstairs. I offered to redecorate it however he wanted. His dad agreed it might be a good idea, so I thought it would go smoother than it did. It did not go smooth at all. When I told Logan, he said something along the lines of me trying to replace him now that I was pregnant again. He said I never wanted him here. That hurt, not because it was true, but because it sounded rehearsed, like he'd been waiting to say it. I tried explaining the space issue, but he kept going on about how I was taking his space, how he needed the attic for school projects, how this house wasn't mine anyway, so I didn't get to decide anything. I was already stressed from the pregnancy and Kathy's situation, and honestly, his attitude set me off. I told him that I was tired of the disrespect, tired of acting like tiptoeing around his moods was the only way to survive in this house, and tired of being treated like an outsider in my own home. I told him the room change was happening whether he liked it or not. He stormed out, slammed the door, and then locked it. He does that a lot, locks it like I'm some intruder. The next day I went up to start moving his things so we could paint the room for Kathy. I didn't want to wait around for him to decide he was ready to cooperate. I moved his clothes, his little projects, everything. Some of it looked like actual trash, to be honest, broken things, random papers, stuff he never even used. For once, I acted instead of waiting for him to blow up again. He came home while I was doing it. He saw everything piled up in the hallway and freaked out. He kept going on about how I threw away important things, which from what I saw were just scraps of fabric and old plastic. He said I had no right. He said I was kicking him out. At that point, after months of tension, I told him if he doesn't like it, he's welcome to stay somewhere else. And yes, I told him it was my house, because in every argument, he throws that in my face, how I'm not his real parent, how I don't matter. I snapped. I'm not proud of snapping, but I'm also not pretending like he's innocent in this. He left the house, didn't say where he was going, just walked out. When Roman came home, he acted like I destroyed his life. He grabbed a bag and left too. He wouldn't talk to me, wouldn't let me explain, wouldn't even tell me where he was going. I heard him on the phone telling someone that Logan can stay with you and that he should have listened years ago. I assumed he meant Logan's mother, but that didn't make sense because she's never been stable enough. So now I have no clue. Kathy is furious with me. She said Logan left because of me. She said Roman left because of me too. She said I ruined everything. I don't know if I'm the one losing my mind, or if everyone else decided to rewrite history, but I'm tired of feeling like I'm the only one who ever tried to make this family work. Update 1. Roman, my husband, didn't come home that night. I started calling him. No answer. I figured he went to Logan's mom's place because that's where he always goes whenever there's tension. But that wasn't it. He was at his sister Dana's house. Now for context, Dana and I have never gotten along. She treats me like I'm some homewrecker who should be grateful she allows me in the family at all. I don't know what version of the story Roman has fed her over the years, but she's never liked me and hasn't exactly tried to hide it. She's the kind of person who always thinks she's the one holding everyone else's moral compass. So knowing he ran there of all places pissed me off even more, because the last thing I need is that woman lecturing him into hating me. While that was happening, Kathy came into the living room crying because she wanted to know why Logan wasn't home. She told me she had been texting him all night and he stopped replying. I honestly didn't even know they talked that much. She spent years pretending the two of them barely tolerated each other, and suddenly she was telling me she's been sneaking into his room almost every night because he helps her study when she feels behind. Apparently he's been helping her with her reading because her dad never really paid attention to school stuff and she always felt embarrassed asking for help. That stung more than I expected it to. Not because she went to him, but because I didn't notice. I'm her mother. I should have known if she was struggling. I called Logan, thinking maybe I could do the adult thing and patch this up before Roman started turning this into a bigger issue. Logan didn't pick up. I tried texting. Nothing. What really bothered me was that I could see he read the messages. He just didn't bother answering. I know he's upset, but I wasn't expecting the level of cold shoulder he's giving me right now. Then Dana called me. Honestly, I thought she was going to scream at me, but what she said was worse. She told me that Logan has been scared of me for years. I laughed at first because that's ridiculous. I've never laid a hand on him, and he's never been shy about telling me when he thinks I'm wrong. But she doubled down and said that I don't know even half of what's been going on behind my back. She told me that Roman has been telling Logan things about me, stuff that makes no sense. Things like that I resented having him in the house. That I only tolerated him for Roman's sake, that Kathy would always be the priority, and that eventually he'd be expected to figure out his own life because I wasn't willing to raise someone else's kid. I would never say any of that. Yes, Logan and I never bonded the way a lot of stepfamilies do, but I never hated him. I never wanted him gone, and I definitely never told Roman I didn't want him around anymore. The fact that Roman would even say those things, let alone repeatedly enough that Logan believed it, makes me feel sick. I thought the tension between me and Logan was because he came in during a rough time, not because his own father was stirring the pot behind the scenes. When I asked Roman about it later through text, he told me to leave Logan alone for now and stop trying to make myself feel better by pretending I didn't do anything wrong. Later that afternoon, I went through the stuff Logan left behind in his room. I was trying to get a sense of what he actually took and what he left so I could reach out and let him know it was safe to pick up the rest. That's when I found the envelope of cash. Roman has been giving Logan money, not for chores or to help with university stuff, just handing it to him quietly. Update 2. So, the thing everyone kept nagging me about confronting Roman. I finally did it, and I wish I hadn't. Not because I didn't need the truth, but because the truth made everything 10 times worse than what I thought it was. I went into it expecting him to defend Logan or tell me I overreacted. I was even prepared for him to say he didn't want to come back. What I didn't expect was watching a grown man fall apart in front of me like he'd been holding in 20 years of problems. I'm not putting exact wording here, but the general idea was that he had been overwhelmed basically since Logan came back to live with us, and instead of dealing with it, he funneled it at me. Quietly, subtly. In little ways I didn't even notice. He admitted flat out that he never actually wanted another baby. Not Kathy, not the new one. He said he didn't know how to say it without sounding cruel, so he just never did. And then when Logan showed up years ago out of nowhere after the problems with his mom, he felt like everything in his life got rearranged without warning, and he resented it. Not Logan personally, at least that's what he claimed, but the situation around him. The responsibility, the stress, the guilt. The fact that he couldn't fix what happened between Logan and his mother. The fact that he suddenly had to figure out how to parent a teenager who was already hurting. And instead of dealing with all of that like an adult, he tried to make everything easier for himself by nudging me to take on the emotional weight. I didn't understand what he meant until he admitted he had told Logan things about me. Things like that I didn't want him there long term, that I preferred a quiet house, that I wasn't used to teenagers and got overwhelmed easily. He said he thought if Logan believed I didn't have high expectations of him, then Logan wouldn't act out or make things harder. But all it did was make Logan assume I hated him. And then Logan acted distant because he thought I didn't want him around. And then I reacted to that distance obviously, and then Roman would step in and tell Logan that I was under a lot of pressure, and that would make Logan pull back even more. And the cycle just got worse. What actually broke me during this was when he admitted he kept almost all of this going even after things started to get better between me and Logan last year. Logan was talking more. He was helping Kathy with school stuff. He even started leaving his door open occasionally. I thought we were turning a corner. I honestly, truly thought it was the first time in years that the house felt normal. And meanwhile, Roman was still filling his head with things like, "Don't bother her, she's stressed," and "Keep your distance so you don't make things worse." All those little moments where Logan pulled away again out of nowhere, the ones I assumed meant he'd gotten sick of trying, it was because Roman told him to. He also admitted something else that honestly made me sick. He had been giving Logan money, not for savings like I assumed, but as a kind of pacifier, basically paying him not to complain, paying him to stay out of the way, paying him so he would have something to focus on other than the fact that his father was barely holding things together. I don't even know how to process that. What kind of parent does that? And then there was the part about the pregnancy. He said he was scared I'd have complications again, and instead of supporting me, he resented me for getting pregnant at all. He said he felt trapped. And every time he felt trapped, he took it out on the person who wouldn't fight back, which was apparently me. Because yes, I have a spine. But in our marriage, I trusted him to tell me the truth. So when he suggested I was too stressed for certain things, I believed him. When he said Logan didn't like being hovered over, I believed him. When he said Kathy should spend more time with me because Logan made her anxious, and Kathy never said that once, I believed him. Because why wouldn't I? And now everything makes sense in the worst way. Update 3. So, the big thing that happened first. CPS showed up at my door. They weren't rude or anything, just very calm and neutral while looking around. They checked Kathy's room, asked her a couple of questions, asked me about Logan living elsewhere now, asked about the argument the night he left. I tried to be honest without over-explaining, but I'm sure I still sounded stressed and all over the place. Anyway, they said they weren't removing Kathy or doing anything drastic, but they'd be following up. That phrase has been rattling in my brain ever since. I thought it would end there, but the real punch came a few hours later. Roman finally answered one of my messages, telling me where he'd been. I assumed he was back at Dana's or hiding at his co-worker's place again, but he was actually packing up more of his things from the rental he's staying in. He told me point blank that he was filing for divorce and that Logan's staying arrangement is permanent. He didn't even soften it. It was like he'd made peace with it a long time ago and I was the last one catching up. But none of that was even the biggest blow. I found out who reported us. It wasn't Roman. It wasn't Logan's mother. It was Dana. I'm still trying to wrap my head around how far she went. She admitted it to me in a message she sent after CPS left. She said she was protecting the kids from two adults who shouldn't have been responsible for anyone. She wasn't vague or hinting. She'd been collecting things for years. Screenshots of messages between her and Roman, where he said things about Logan and me. Screenshots she got from Logan when he wasn't living with us. Photos of things in the house from months ago. Even a recording that Roman apparently sent her one time, laughing about an argument between me and Logan because at least they're not fighting with me. I don't even remember that argument, which makes me feel sick. She also got statements from two neighbors who said they heard me yelling the night I locked Logan out. I didn't even know either of them paid attention to us. Dana basically threw gasoline on the whole situation and then pretended she was doing everyone a favor. Final update. I've read through the older comments on my posts, and at the time I thought people were being dramatic or purposely cruel. But now it feels like they saw the train crash before I even realized I was on the tracks. When the caseworker came for the second home check, she pulled me aside and made a point of telling me that she could see I was trying, but the tension in the home was palpable. Around that same time, I realized my pregnancy was getting closer to the due date, and I had this horrible moment one night where I was sitting on the sofa alone, and it hit me that the baby might end up being born into a house full of resentment and cold silence. I had been so focused on winning arguments and proving I wasn't the villain that it never crossed my mind to think about what kind of home I was making for another child. Everything sort of cracked open the week I went into labor. Roman wasn't even home. I called him and he didn't pick up, so I called my sister to take me because I refused to let Kathy see me fall apart in real time. She stayed with her grandparents that night, and honestly, I think that was for the best because the hospital felt like another planet. No emotional support, no husband, just nurses coming in and out. I gave birth, and it should have been one of those moments you want to cling to, the kind people describe as life-changing, but it felt like I was floating sideways outside my own body. Roman showed up the next morning, and he looked like someone coming to check on a co-worker in the hospital, not his wife or the mother of his new baby. He held the baby, stared at him for maybe 10 seconds, and then handed him back and said he needed to get back to work. He didn't ask me how I felt. He didn't ask anything about the delivery. He didn't even sit down. That's when I knew the marriage was done. I didn't even argue it in my head. I just knew. When I got home, it was almost unsettling how quickly things fell into place. Roman moved his things while I was still resting. He didn't talk. He didn't yell. He didn't even shut the door loudly. He left like someone trying not to wake a sleeping child. A week later, the divorce papers arrived, and I didn't even cry when I read them. I think I had already done all the grieving without knowing it. What I wasn't prepared for was hearing from Logan. It was about 3 weeks after the baby was born. I had been struggling with the nights, the exhaustion, and the adjustment. Kathy was helping, but she was also dealing with her own feelings about everything. One afternoon, she asked me if she could message Logan to tell him about the baby. She said she missed him and she wanted him to know there was a new sibling. I told her she could, even though a part of me felt like I didn't deserve to have him involved at all. He replied to her, not to me, just her. She showed me the message and asked if he could come by to see the baby and her. I told her yes. I didn't want to be the reason they stayed disconnected. He came a few days later. Kathy hugged him like he'd just come back from a long trip, and he hugged her back without hesitation. I didn't know what to say to him. Not because I didn't want to, but because there was no version of an apology that would undo the damage. He didn't need excuses. He didn't need me trying to explain my side. He just needed honesty, and I was too late giving it. He didn't stay long. He saw the baby, told Kathy she could call him anytime, and then said he needed to get back to his cousin's place. Before he left, he told me he didn't hate me, but he was exhausted. I can't describe the way that felt. It wasn't anger. It wasn't bitterness. It was like someone closing a door without slamming it, and somehow that was worse. The part that really broke something in me came from Kathy. That night she asked me if Logan could move in with us again because she thinks he needs a home and she misses him. She said she wanted him to feel like he belonged somewhere. I didn't know what to say. I still don't. Because the truth is, even if he wanted to come back, I don't think this house is the home he needed. I think he found that elsewhere, and I think it's because I failed to make it here. And that's something I'm gonna have to live with. So that's where things stand now. The baby is healthy, Kathy is adjusting. I'm in therapy trying to understand why I reacted the way I did, why I let insecurity and resentment take over instead of actually seeing what was in front of me. Roman is out of the picture, except for legal communication, and Logan, he's building a life that doesn't revolve around our home, and I can't blame him for that.